Hey, this is Kevin Bowen, and you are listening to my podcast called Kevin's Corner. Subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher for the best coverage of the Colts and Pacers. That time of year again. The Peytons. Kevin's Corner version of the Oscars/ESPYs. Joey Molinaro, it's time to hand out some awards.
Yeah, it's right before the Combine. Things are kind of slowing down a little bit, so we figured let's do that. Let's decide who's had the best year around Indy.
NBA All-Star break, like Joey said, a slower time around the NFL, and with the Oscars, obviously, taking place this Sunday night. We figured it was the perfect time for the second annual Peytons. We started this last year in honor of the statue for Peyton Manning outside of Lucas Oil Stadium, and we will be handing out, about 6, Joey? 6 or 7, I think?
Yeah, 6 categories.
Very prestigious. I'm still curious if any of our recipients last year, what they did with their Peytons.
Yes. I know the Pacers got back to us.
The Pacers were the big winners last year, and I feel like this year, when we look at the categories and the balance across the state, not only collegiately, but also professionally, I feel like we're going to have a little bit more spread out, which I think is good. The fan bases from all around should be happy with our choices, and you were pubbing this on the Instagram and the website as well, so fans can check that out if they somehow missed it.
Yep, for sure. You want to run through the categories and then?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so we got, like we did last year, we kind of take a category from the Oscars and then rip it to be how it would match up, kind of a parallel to sports. So we have actor in supporting role, best role player, best 6-man type deal. Costume design, best uniforms. Seen a few different ones pop up this year. Best director. Best coach, obviously.
Which I think is a really tough category.
Yeah, that one is going to be a fun debate for sure to see who wins. And then best short film, that's the best play. So, not the entirety, but just the best play.
Nice.
And lastly, a couple more. We got actor in a leading role. That's a big one. They saved that for last, I think, with best picture at the Oscars. That's the best player for this year. And then the best film, the best game.
So, yeah, we tried again, have a little bit of our own twist on it for the Peytons here. But our second annual Peytons Awards will now be handed out. And, Joey, let's start with actor in a supporting role.
Woo! If I was your best friend, I want you out.
The nominees for Best Supporting Actor are Domas Sabonis, Indiana Pacers.
Joseph on a drive. Nice shot. Missed it. Fight for the rebound. Still alive. Sabonis hammered and the foul. Joseph made a hustle play. Tipped it to his teammate. And Sabonis is now 11 for 11 from the field.
Ian Book, Notre Dame.
3rd down and 5. Clark to the end zone for Boykin. Touchdown, Notre Dame.
Kenny Moore, Indianapolis Colts.
Dalton to Mixon. Won't it picked off? And see you later, Kenny Moore inside the 10.
Quentin Nelson, Indianapolis Colts.
All right, so a little mix there, and thank you very much to our voiceover, Maddie. Job there to announce our nominees.
Back-to-back years.
Back-to-back years for Maddie Koss, part of the digital department here at MS Communications. Joey, I feel like this category has some really, really good professional players and then a college player in Ian Book that really took college football by storm there for a brief stretch. Obviously, didn't end the season how Notre Dame wanted to, but was a huge, huge part in them going to the playoffs. And then in Sabonis and Kenny Moore and Quentin Nelson, variances and the type of support they give the star players around them, but all three of them have just been absolutely pivotal in their roles for the Colts and the Pacers.
Yeah, and we saw Sabonis pop up in this category last year too. So he's a regular.
Do you think he's got a chance for 6th man of the year if you talked, if you talk to Kevin Pritchard, Nate McMillan, people like that. When you look at the analytics on Domantas Sabonis, it's crazy. Like the win shares, the player efficiency rating. I mean, he's right up there with a lot of guys in the like household names. You know, names that Sabonis could walk down Mass Ave, and outside of being 6'11", probably not a lot of people would recognize them. You know me, Joey. I love Kenny Moore.
And he kind of came on late. You know, he had a really, really strong finish.
He did. Great finish to the season. He had the, I think the game-clinching pick against the Titans, which pretty much punched that playoff ticket for the Colts in that win and get-in game in Week 17. And then how about his role and his execution of the role in the two biggest wins of the season, both in Houston? You know, Matt Eberflus uses this little small 5'9" corner, 5'10" corner, probably the smallest guy on the Colts roster, use him in a blitzing role. I think going into the Super Bowl, I'm not sure if he had this coming out of the Super Bowl, Joey. He had the most sacks in the postseason of any player in the NFL. Yeah,
he was coming off that edge flying, man.
He was. I think he had 2 or 3 sacks in the Colts' 2 playoff games. And he's really turned himself into, you know, a household name after being an undrafted free agent in 2017. Is Quentin Nelson too good to be in this category?
He is. I know people will probably get honest about that, but you'll have to see later on in the show about, you know, we wanted Nelson to be represented somewhere.
It's got to be,
and
right?
It just so happened that this is where he was.
I mean, just for our livelihood. We don't want Quentin Nelson coming after us. So, yeah, for the sanity of making sure I sleep safe at night, Quentin Nelson is in this category. All right, Joey, should we hit it out?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right. Our first Peyton tonight, actor in a supporting role, goes to Ian Book.
Whoa.
The quarterback for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
A little bit of an upset, maybe?
Maybe, but, you know, I don't think we should diminish the kid for playing college football. I guess that is maybe where some people will be like, wait, what? Ian Book? Let's think about Ian Book, the story, role player. This guy was not the starting quarterback until, I think it was week 4.
Maybe week 5,
Wake Forest game comes to mind. You know, I mean, they were undefeated. Brian Kelly makes this move. And here comes your cold backup quarterback. I think he started 1 game, maybe 2 games the previous year, but it barely played. And you're thrust into now quarterbacking an undefeated team. And not only do you not miss a beat, but you take your team to another level, and eventually you punch Notre Dame's first playoff berth since college football went to that format. And that's what really stands out to me, Joey, is, you know, I know his stats weren't maybe like eye-popping, but you beat Stanford. You went on the road and you beat Northwestern. You went to Blacksburg. You beat Virginia Tech in a hostile environment. I know USC wasn't your typical USC, but you won there late in the season. You won it in Yankee Stadium against a Syracuse team that at the time was a top 15 team. So I think when you factor all of that in, to me, that's why he's deserving of this.
I agree. Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense, man. I like it. Congrats to Ian.
He's a good-looking cat.
Yeah.
He's going to have fun at the Peytons after party. Where is our after party?
Tiki Bob's.
Tiki Bob's?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
There's been a lot of rest for athletes at Tiki Bob's back in the day.
Yeah,
so.
South Meridian. Find us there.
Yeah, we'll have to make sure our IMPD is on patrol there. But, yes, our first Peyton goes to Ian Book.
All right. On to best uniform, costume design.
And I love this category just because I think both you and I are big costume guys.
Yep. It's important. It's an important part, an underrated part of the game.
Yes. The aesthetic look, I think it draws in the common fan.
Like if you watch the AAF, you understand.
Right.
Uniforms are huge.
Huge. And we are both big uniform guys. And Joey, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm very disappointed in our market and the uniforms they produce.
Yeah, definitely. The gray city editions by the Pacers, while they look better on the court than they do just on a rack or in a picture.
Compared to other teams in the NBA.
Compared to other teams in the NBA, it's still, you're kind of hoping for more. And then the Colts all blue, it's like, okay, Smurfy.
Nah, yeah. Could not have said it better. So, yes, our nominees for costume design are...
The nominees for best uniform are Colts blue color rush, Notre Dame pinstripes, Purdue blackout, Pacers gray city editions.
Like I said, Joey, I don't know. It's just a category that I don't love the nominees. I think that there are other categories that we'll hand out Peytons to today that have more deserving candidates. There's a higher level of quality of candidates. So you touched on the Pacer City uniforms earlier. I hate them.
Any particular reason? It just doesn't look good on the eye to you? Or?
I think the color and the eye of it, and maybe it's just because we don't have like a great, like New Orleans has the Mardi Gras theme to it. Miami has the Miami Vice theme to it for the Heat and the Pelicans respectively. Maybe we just don't have that huge draw. Like, I don't know. Like, what can you do with the Motor Speedway? You know, I know that was an element that they've tried before.
Me and Ben Polizzi, we've talked a lot about the possibility of, because there's only so much you can do with the Speedway.
For sure.
But
yeah,
last year you saw him kind of do the driver's suit, the old school driver's suit, which I liked. I don't know if you liked, but
I thought it was better than this year's.
Right. One thing that we think would be cool is if they just scrapped the Pacers colors in general, like a lot of teams do for these, and make it like the flags of the Speedway.
Yes.
So have all the different colors, checkered flag type deal.
I'm all in.
That would be cool.
I'm afraid that our professional sports teams in this market just are too afraid to do that.
Agreed, 100%.
And I guess so that kind of leads us into the Colts. I am a huge fan, Joey, of what the Colts did back in those couple times with Peyton when they wore the, I guess, Baltimore Colts throwbacks, you would call them. It was the Thanksgiving game against the Lions, and I think a road game against the Eagles as well.
Yeah.
They had the older helmet and the different top and pants. I just love that classic throwback Baltimore Colts look. And again, it's not like they're afraid to do something from their Baltimore days. They clearly did it when they were the Indianapolis Colts a decade ago. So I would like to see that. To me, the color rush for the Colts, it's throwing on blue pants.
Yeah, definitely. And we're dying for a blue helmet, like you mentioned.
Yes.
So whether
something
it's
to change it up.
Whether it's the one from the Thanksgiving days or it's like some they have in the pro shop that's more of this kind of blue.
Yeah.
Still has a white. It just flips. So you have a blue helmet with a white horseshoe instead of a white helmet with a blue horseshoe.
Do you like the old school Baltimore logo, kind of the bucking bronco?
I do.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I do as well. Which, again, I don't really have a great answer for why I like that.
Maybe just because it's different than just the horseshoe.
Yeah, and
but
I love tradition, but I think going to tradition too much can get a bit stale. And when everyone else around I don't know, it just feels like the color rush uniforms for the Colts suck compared to other teams in the NFL.
And it's weird. It's part of just the color that they have.
Color scheme isn't great.
I mean, when you look at the Steelers, for instance, when they go color rush, it's all black, and that's awesome. You know, I mean,
the Chargers powder
blue, the Broncos all orange. I mean, those guys lucked out, but Colts unfortunately not so much.
So I guess it was Colts Dolphins this year when they wore those.
Yep.
Great game.
Thanksgiving weekend.
Probably one of the few games this year. So the other two, Joey, in this category, Purdue had the blackout. That was Ohio State night, I guess, is the – are we just saying Purdue specific uniforms for that game or just the Purdue alternate uniforms they used all year long?
Well, Purdue has a nice combination of uniforms, without a doubt, but that one sticks out definitely because it was kind of a blackout theme with the crowd.
Call of Duty sort of Black Ops operation.
And the game itself, right?
That and I think that helps for sure. I don't think the Purdue wore them that night, but I love that matte black helmet that they went to.
I think they did wear that.
Did they wear that that night? Well, then that makes me even love them even more.
Yeah.
What? Oh boy, what did you think of those Notre Dame jerseys?
We had talked about it, the creativity, the idea to kind of go outside the box. I thought, like, bravo, good for you guys.
Especially for Notre Dame when you think of, oh my gosh, like, old, snotty, like,
The promo for it where the guy was on the subway in New York, that was really cool. I thought the helmets looked good. I thought the cleats looked good.
Because remember, that game, for listeners that don't recall, that was at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah. I thought the helmets with the circle around it. Yeah, I thought those were good. I like those.
But the pants, just a tad too much.
Yeah, a little too like slow pitch softball-y. Like the I don't know.
And I know, again, we are probably walking like a fine line of being like, you want to be creative, you don't want to be like overly creative, and tradition means a lot and all of that. I love the idea and the thought behind it for Notre Dame, but the execution might have been just a tad too much. But hey,
agreed.
They beat the you-know-what out of Syracuse, so worked out that day. All right, Joey, give our listeners the winner of costume design.
All right, I got the card here. The winner for the 2019 Peytons costume design best uniform goes to Purdue for their blackout uniforms against Ohio State.
Boiler up. I liked them. Jeff Brom did an outstanding job coaching his team in that game. I have a feeling they might reappear a little bit later for another Peyton today, but the blackout night game, huge atmosphere. Kirk Herbstreit, Chris Fowler doing the game, like all of that. The Tyler Trent story. You throw all that together, and I just loved. I remember watching that game, coming home from a Pacer game, Joey, and just turning on my TV late night, being like, that just looks like a cool atmosphere.
Yep, definitely.
And Purdue's lighting, they have the weird camera angle where they're a lot more vertical.
Yeah.
In their college I don't know. It
was huge. God, it was one of those signature wins for a program.
Yeah. Hey, look good, play good, right?
Absolutely. All right. What's next?
Okay, we got Best Director next, Joey, and as we will hear the nominees from Maddie here in just a second, I think this is the toughest category we have. So with that, the nominees for Best Director.
The nominees for Best Coach are Nate McMillan, Indiana Pacers.
It's been a lot of fight in these guys all season long. We've been in that situation at half where we've been down or we haven't played our best basketball, and they come out and just continue to fight, continue to scrap. They stay together, and they pull out another big win.
Brian Kelly, Notre Dame.
I came here with the expectation that we would live up to tradition, and that is tradition here at Notre Dame is to win a national championship.
Frank Reich, Indianapolis Colts.
Every person matters, and that every detail matters in building a championship culture. One person at a time, one detail at a time, we will build a championship culture and make this city proud.
Roger Penske, Team Penske.
It takes integrity. It takes transparency that we all have to have. And I think that's been the common thread through Team Penske. We want to win. We want to win fairly. We also are a family.
So Best Director, obviously Best Coach. And I guess Roger Penske does a little bit more than just coaching, but we had to throw the captain into this category, Joey. Will Power, of course, winning the Indy 500 last May. So what we try to do with the Peytons is stretch it out pretty much over a 12-month calendar year. So when we're talking Pacers, when we're talking Indy 500, we're going into last spring as well, coupled with, what the Pacers have done so far this year. But I felt like Roger Penske deserved to be on this. They actually had a clean sweep in the month of May last year. Will Power winning both the Grand Prix and then 2 weeks later winning the 500. Anyone else stand out to you in this category? I mean, I think you can make such compelling cases for any of these four.
Yeah, and I think what's funny too, Kevin, is I'm pretty sure last year's Peytons, this was the weakest category. I think it was like a no doubt that it was Nate McMillan.
Yeah.
And then this year, it's the total opposite.
We had Tom McMahon, the special teams coach for the Colts, as a nominee last year.
I had to scrum up some awful grainy picture of him surrounded by the kickoff team because I couldn't find anything else.
Wow, it has come a long way here in the state. Yeah, because, man, last year was – I think we had Matt Painter maybe – well, actually, no. Last year we wouldn't have because, again, we kind of go on the college cycle. And like Matt Painter, he could be deserving to be on this list. But when you look at it, how can you say no to Brian Kelly, a guy that, like we said, I don't really think anyone expected Notre Dame to be a playoff team last year. And he makes a switch at quarterback mid-season when you're undefeated. That doesn't happen. But I think he looked at his team and felt like Brandon Wimbush, If he's the quarterback, the ceiling is a New Year's Day bowl.
Yep.
You're inevitably going to lose a game or two, but wanted a more accurate quarterback, felt like he had enough skill around the quarterback to help that offense out, just as long as you could get a more precise in-rhythm quarterback, and that's what Ian Book was. Frank Reich, it goes without saying, Joey, just the jump that the Colts made from 4 wins to 10 wins, and just such a more competent coaching staff.
Yep.
And the job that Nate McMillan continues to do here. Like, I know we don't talk about Nate McMillan enough. Like, Victor Oladipo has missed, now that we're into the All-Star break, I think he's missed like nearly 40% of the season. And this is a team that currently will start the second half of the year and more like the last fourth of the year, how the NBA scheduling works. They have a home court series in round 1.
Like the 4th best record in the league.
Yeah,
right?
Right there with Boston and Philly in that 3, 4, 5 race. And the expectations, last year were so minuscule. It was, over under of 31.5, and boom, all of a sudden you explode for 48, I think it was last year. This year you had an over-under of 47.5, and you're currently on pace with Victor Oladipo missing 22 games. You're on pace to finish with north of 50 wins. And I know March is really tough, and the schedule has been a bit easier early on, but I don't care. You lose your star for that much. That's really impressive.
And I wouldn't be surprised, too, if the Pacers take that with even more of a chip on their shoulder in March, and they come out 500 on that road trip. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're going to thrive. I mean, they thrive in that sort of underdog mentality. Victor Oladipo's on a conference call a couple weeks ago, and he mentioned that was his message to that team when they met with him down in Miami, and they played some great ball right after meeting with Victor down there after his surgery. So I could honestly make very, very compelling cases for any of these 4 guys. If we were soft, Joey, we would hand out co-Peytons.
That's not how it works.
But we can't do that.
No.
Should I give it out?
Let's do it.
All right. The Peyton for the best director goes to Frank Reich, the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. Any issue with that, Joey?
No, not at all. I think even though this was the toughest category, at the end of the day, looking from 2017 to 2018 season, it was a pretty easy call.
And how young that roster was. You got a very young, and for Frank Reich, when Frank Reich accepts this award, knowing him, he's going to thank his entire coaching staff.
Yep.
He might thank God, being a former pastor as well. I guess he is.
I'd say it's likely, yeah.
Still an ordained pastor. So after thanking the Lord, he's going to thank his coaching staff, and it deserves to go to that entire coaching staff because a guy like Matt Eberflus getting an incredibly young defense to play at a top 10, top 15 level, I never would have thought that. So kudos to Frank Reich. I think there were some rumblings he wasn't even runner-up for Coach of the Year to Matt Nagy. That might have gone to Anthony Lynn. Shame on, I think, the NFL. I feel like Frank Reich should have been right on the fringe for that. But when you are talking about votes, let's say 15 people voted on this award, Joey, I would guess that Frank Reich probably got 10, 8 maybe, but there are very deserving candidates in Nate McMillan, Brian Kelly, and Roger Penske.
You think that Frank Reich would officiate my wedding if I wrote him a letter or something?
Wow.
We're looking for one, so he's already ordained.
The only issue is it's midseason.
Damn, you're right.
We're going to have to hope for a bye week.
It's true. It's too early. Never mind.
We'll see. Colts schedule comes out here in about 2 months. But, man, that would be fun.
Yeah. I'll keep it in the back. I'll keep it in the files, see what I can come up with.
My brother-in-law, when he got married, they sent a invitation to Peyton Manning.
Nice.
Yes. And Peyton replied back and said, unfortunately, he could not be there.
That's awesome, though.
How great is that?
If you're going to do that, you have to know they're probably not going to come. But still, the fact that they take the time to
something, yeah. Can I get like a $50 Crate and Barrel gift card or something like that?
Peyton.
Come on now.
Get us a gift.
Something off the registry. All right, so that is Best Director. We are halfway done here on the Oscars, or the Peytons, excuse me. And now we're getting into the good stuff. Best Short Film, Actor in a Leading Role, and Best Film to end the night. Joey, our Best Short Film equates to the Best Play from this past calendar year. And with that, our nominees for Best Short Film.
The nominees for Best Play are Victor Oladipo's game-winning 3 against the Celtics.
Oladipo the rebound. 9 seconds, 8 seconds, 7 seconds. Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got it!
Another one! You can see it in the air.
Victor Oladipo has given the Pacers a 1-point lead.
Rondale Moore's 46-yard touchdown catch versus Ohio State.
It's Moore in motion. They get it to him. Moore in space. A burst of speed. A first down for Purdue. He's still going. Moore cuts back. Touchdown.
Andrew Luck to Chester Rogers.
3rd and 9. Luck ducks the pass rush. Throwing deep. He has a man open and he's got him. That's Chester Rogers.
Rob Finnessy's buzzer beater versus Butler.
Langford slips, trying to get the ball. Somebody's got to hoist one. Finnessy at the buzzer. He got it! A three-pointer to win! They'll look at it, but I think it's good.
All right, those are nominees for Best Short Film. And, Joey, it is a little bit odd to me in a year that you had the Pacers, you know, having a great run last year, a very competitive first-round series with LeBron James and the Cavs, a very nice start to this season, and the Colts making the playoffs and going to the divisional round. You don't really have that eye-popping standout play, you know?
Yeah, I mean, but then you get down.
Pacers, we went with a regular season game winner by Victor Oladipo, and it wasn't a buzzer beater game winner. It was still a, huge shot late in the game, final 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And then Colts, we went with a 3rd and 9 play, right around the 2-minute warning. I think it was hard for me to pick a standout Colts play.
You don't have the Luck Superman play or
a Vinatieri 50-yarder for the win.
Right, but at the same time, I think that if you look at so these plays may seem small when they happen up front, but I think the bigger picture you look at. So the Luck to Rogers on 3rd and 9, if they don't convert that and they lose to Miami,
that's a great point. I would say our plays this year, Joey, specifically, I guess, for the professional ranks, much more big picture view of it.
And Rondale Moore, that swing pass that he broke those tackles and scored on, again, the game was pretty much already in hand, but it's almost like that end of the movie, like triumph, punching the ticket, like you said, that sealed the deal. I would say
the Rondale Moore moment and the Robert Finnessy game winner, more individually, like those are your SportsCenter number 1 plays for that day, especially the Finnessy play.
Yeah.
Like that is a game winner that, hell, did absolutely nothing for IU in the big picture sense, but for the immediacy of that afternoon, what a huge play by a freshman. Whereas when you look at the Luck to Rogers play, as you mentioned, it was a great play by Luck. Like it is a notable play in that all of a sudden, he gets hit and he's got his head down. He maintains his balance. He said after the game it was kind of an oh shit moment, like, oh my God, Miami came out in this coverage pre-snap and boom. It was a very vintage Luck play. But like you said, it wasn't the Donald Brown fumble Superman play. It wasn't Luck to Hilton 65 yards in the Kansas City game that, capped that comeback. So, this is an interesting category in how you weigh it for me, Joey. But I think what we have to come back to is the category. Best short film, in our eyes, is best play. So with that, Joey,
got it. Yep.
Our winner for best short film.
Yep. And the winner for the 2019 best short film, best play goes to Robert Finnessy in his game-winning buzzer beater against Butler in December of 2018.
The McCutcheon Maverick or something like that. I forget what their nickname is, but I know it's something odd.
Where's Greg
High
Rakestraw? He'd be able to.
Exactly.
Tell.
The best play, though. I think that deserves it. I know some people might go with maybe the Rondale Moore play, maybe the Victor Oladipo pull-up, considering him and Kyrie Irving were going back and forth late in that game. But you talk about a play, and you talk about the impact here locally. Crossroads Classic. Butler had the lead pretty much the entire second half of that game. IU's having to make a furious rally. Butler could not have defended that possession any better.
Yeah.
Juwan Morgan, who had a huge game, doesn't touch it. Romeo Langford, who they're trying to get the ball to, he doesn't get that late touch. All of a sudden, here's Fennessy with it, 30 feet away from the basket. I wouldn't call it a prayer. I wouldn't call it a heave, but he definitely wasn't, in rhythm jump shot, and the kid from Indiana hits the game winner. And it was the buzzer beater.
Right. Nothing else. Not another play from Butler. That was it. That was a walk-off.
That was the climax of that play for IU in their win over Butler. And
again, individually, yes, it stinks that buzzer beater, that win didn't propel IU to, right now that kind of looks insignificant. But at the time, it wasn't. I
mean, that was a great a really good non-conference for IU.
Yeah.
And that, you'd beat Louisville, you'd beat Marquette. I guess you'd beat Louisville. I think you'd already beaten Louisville.
They have, yeah. The week before, actually.
Yeah, and you'd beat Marquette back in late November. So, Robert Fennessy for Best Short Film, Best Play.
Man, these next two are juicy. These are what it's all about.
Yeah, this is where some people are thinking about, all right, where's the after party? But we got a couple of big awards to hand out before the pregame begins at Tiki Bob's. All right, actor in a leading role, Joey. This is Best Player, and similar to Best Director, listen to some of these nominees. These are some pretty good nominees.
The nominees for Best Player are Darius Leonard, Indianapolis Colts.
First down, Doug Martin lost the football, kicked around, and who has it? Colts say they have it. Straight ISO handoff, and you look at the tomahawk chop that Darius Leonard put on that. He just went straight after the ball. Gabbert over the middle, intercepted. He threw it right to Darius Leonard.
Rondale Moore, Purdue.
Moore in motion. They get it to him. Moore in space. A burst of speed. A first down for Purdue. He's still going. Moore cuts back. Touchdown.
Victor Oladipo, Indiana Pacers.
Oladipo the rebound. 9 seconds, 8 seconds, 7 seconds. Oladipo to win it.
Another one.
He got it.
Another one. You can see it in the air.
Victor Oladipo has given the Pacers a 1-point lead.
Andrew Luck, Indianapolis Colts.
Luck wanted to take a deep shot. Now Walker Ingram got him. Touchdown. Andrew Luck's first touchdown pass in 616 days. Luck deep shot down the field. T.Y. Hilton. He's got him. Hilton at his feet. 5 and zone. Touchdown. 68 yards.
All right, those were the nominees for actor in a leading role, or in Peyton's terms, the best player. And Joey, this is one that I think you and I went back and forth on quite a bit. Some very, very deserving candidates. I would say we can probably rule out Victor Oladipo just because of the injury, which I know is a bit unfair because look how he finished last calendar year. NBA's most improved player.
Yep.
But even when he was healthy this year, he probably wasn't at an all-NBA level. He was third team, I think, last year.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so, but the other three candidates, man, when you're talking best player, I mean, Darius Leonard, Rondale Moore, and Andrew Luck, and all very different stories, all three of them had tremendous seasons.
Yeah, and I know that we're going to hit on a lot of the professional guys, but for, again, a college dude to be able to make his way in there, that just shows true freshman, the only collegiate athlete out of the best player category. And, I mean, when you talk about a dude that every time he touches the ball, you think he's going house,
yeah,
that's Rondale Moore.
you don't see freshmen, especially skill players, make impacts in college football that often.
Right away.
I mean opening night. It's a Thursday night game, wasn't it, against Northwestern?
Had over 200 total yards, 2 touchdowns.
All-American consensus, All-American as a true freshman. Second most, I think, all-purpose yards in school history for Purdue. And when you're filling out a Heisman list for next year, Rondell Moore, I mean, I know it's really hard for receivers to win the Heisman, but he's at least on that list of non-quarterback division, which I know next year's going to be loaded with Tua and Lawrence and, who knows if Justin Fields or who else. But
an invite.
Yeah, something. He at least will be on every single first-team All-American list that you see next year. Unbelievable year for Rondell Moore. And then you have the 2 Colts. And when I was handing out my end-of-the-season awards, Joey, I copped out for the Colts.
How so?
I gave co-MVPs.
Oh.
Soft. I know. I think it's just because I got married.
I mean, that happens, though. Steve McNair and Peyton Manning.
But that's soft.
It is kind of weird how it's like a full season and you can't pick one.
Pick one.
Differentiated one.
So I don't know if I was in an emotional state when I did that, Joey, but I went with co. I will not go with co in this. We will not. But what we have to keep in mind, I think, here, Joey, is best player. That is the award. So best player to me equates to best season as well. And Andrew Luck, unbelievable year. Obviously was comeback player of the year, career high completion percentage. He, I think he was second in touchdowns in the NFL to Patrick Mahomes. His passer rating was at a career high. And then you go to Leonard. I mean, shattering numbers that this franchise has seen from a defensive player and or a rookie. And, he put up numbers, 163 tackles, 7 sacks, 4 forced fumbles.
At key times, too.
Such critical moments in games. 2 interceptions, a werewolf yell against Dallas.
Best moment of the season.
The Maniac was in full force, Joey. So I'm probably tipping my hand a little bit there, but Darius Leonard had a really good season.
Yeah, he did. And I think on top of it, like you mentioned, I mean, just the fact that he came in last April and May after he got drafted in June, we were talking about when's he going to sign? Is his hamstring? What was it? A hamstring that he's dealing?
Hamstring or groin?
Yeah, is he all right? Is he gonna? He was the last one to sign. Right. What's the deal with this guy?
All spring,
and then all of a sudden he just comes in and takes it by storm.
He really did. So, some very, very deserving candidates: Darius Leonard, Rondell Moore, Victor Oladipo, Andrew Luck. Joey, let's hand it out. Actor in a leading role. Best player goes to the Maniac. Darius Leonard.
Wow. A little bit of an upset again, maybe?
I think this is our biggest upset of the night.
Yeah.
From those on Instagram, because you put all these awards on Instagram throughout late January and into February. We had people commenting all the time. Check out 1070 The Fan on Instagram.
Please, yes, follow.
And I think it was a lot of luck, right?
It was, I would say, probably about 75% luck, 10% Leonard, few percent Rondell Moore.
Hear me out, Joey. Actor in a leading role, best player is how we categorize this. The season that Darius Leonard just put up was a season that the NFL, the National Football League, I sound like I'm leading into CBS's game.
NFL films
Colts Jaguars, 1 o'clock, Lucas Oil Stadium. I'm Spiro Ditas.
On the NFL.
National Football League, man. 20-some years.
Everybody.
You know, Andrew Luck, we have to separate the story from the season. Andrew Luck's story is incredible. So deserving for comeback player of the year. And he had a great season, but he didn't lead the league in any substantial categories. He was only a Pro Bowler via the alternate route.
Yeah.
And I know Pro Bowler is kind of a loose term, but Darius Leonard was all pro. I just feel like Leonard deserves our best player.
Would you? No, never mind. That's too far. We're only going to go there.
Go there.
I was going to mention that, like,
I love when you get far-fetched.
If you take Leonard out of the Colts defense, it would be.
Oh, yeah. If you take Darius Leonard off the Colts, how many games do they win? If you take Andrew Luck off the Colts, how many games do they win?
But it's
a great debate. You probably win more with Leonard off the Colts than you do Luck off the Colts. But that's not, that's the most valuable player.
That could be said for anything. You're right. Like,
this is best player. To me, it's actor in a leading role. It is who did the best job, who had the best season. That's how I look at it, and I just give the slightest of edges to Darius Leonard. Andrew Luck, career year for him, all of that, but he didn't do things the NFL hasn't seen in 20 years. Comeback story was unbelievable, and maybe there goes our chance of ever getting Andrew Luck on the podcast.
Well, it's like we said, it's like Leonardo DiCaprio getting robbed of some Academy Awards.
Point.
It took him a while. It's after some really good performances, but
I'm glad you threw that in there. I hope our female audience appreciates a Leo drop in our podcast. What do you think our female listenership is at?
Higher than what you'd think, but lower than what we'd hope.
10%?
Sure.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah. Man. Higher if you include the guys listening in the car or at the house.
With the misses,
they're just
with
overhearing.
their significant other.
Yes,
nice.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Good call. Yeah, we need to make sure our demographic indicates that. So, yes, that is actor in a leading role to Darius Leonard. I saw he just got his mom a car.
Yeah, that was circling around.
Good for Darius and Mama Leonard. All right, Joey, that brings us to our final award of the night. At this point, we're probably past midnight because all those award shows go long. Best film, a.k.a. Best Game. Give them the nominees.
The nominees for Best Game are Purdue upsets Ohio State.
And now a throw to the end zone. Caught, touchdown! Isaac Zico! Wow, rolls that direction and delivers underneath. Touchdown! Moore makes up for the drop and reaches the end zone. And the fake field goal pays off big time. More to the left. It's a quick handoff, and bursting up the middle is Knox. Dexter, Phillip Knox, touchdown!
IU beats Butler.
McDermott, triple, got it! You cannot forget his number. Baldwin getting chased all over out on top, and he's going to go over Morgan, and he scored. How about that? Hesitate. That's right hand. Langford slips, trying to get the ball. Somebody's got to hoist one. Finney at the buzzer. He got it! A three-pointer to win. They'll look at it, but I think it's good.
Pacers rally against the Cavs. Game 3, 2018 NBA playoffs.
Oladipo, Bogdanovich. Count it and a foul. Hands for a four-point play. Shot clock winding down. They turn it over. Oladipo kicks it. Back out. Bogdanovich for three. Bang!
Colts beat the Texans in the AFC wildcard round.
2nd and 10. Empty set. Walk downfield. And that is Hilton again. 1st and goal. Ebron. What a year for him. Eric Ebron. Touchdown Colts. Here's 4th down. They only send 3, drop 8, and it is intercepted. That is Kenny Moore with the pickoff.
All right, Joey, best game, and I think it's similar to best play or best short film that we gave out a few minutes ago. The professional ranks, they were just a slight underwhelm in this category.
Yeah.
Which is weird to say when you have the Pacers won 3 playoff games and the Colts won 1.
Yep.
Now, we have 2 playoff games from each of those franchises in this category right here. That Pacers Game 3 win over Cleveland, that was a fun night inside of Bankers Life Fieldhouse.
I remember producing the game for Mark Boyle, and it was so loud I could barely hear him and Slick, and there was just boom baby after boom baby. It was nuts.
Boyan.
Mm-hmm.
How about Bogey that night? Doing his best Reggie Miller impression. He had 30, 7 of 9 from 3. That was just when you throw in LeBron and all this, and that put you up 2-1 in the series. You stole game 1 in Cleveland. Obviously we won't get into game 4 and how the rest of that series went down, but
it's always like that with LeBron. The Pacers just God, right there.
Thank the Lord he's out west. And they might not even make the playoffs now, the Lakers. That was the 1-year anniversary, Joey, that game 3. That was the 1-year anniversary of that historic collapse the Pacers had the year before against the Cavs. Remember that? They ended up getting swept.
Oh, God.
In that series, but they were up like
26 at halftime.
I was going to say,
30.
yeah, I was going to guess right around 25. I mean,
I totally forgot. Because then the year before, you had the collapse against Toronto.
In
Toronto.
That was the 7-game series. That was, I think, a game 5 collapse, I want to say, when Paul went off in that game. Paul George's having a pretty good year, by the way.
Yeah, it's just,
he might. He would probably be on our opening monologue if we were doing one of those.
Yes, for sure.
We'd throw a zinger at Paul George. We might need that for next year.
Okay.
Opening monologue for
all
the
right,
Peytons.
we can work on that.
But that was an exciting night inside of Bankers Life Fieldhouse. But you got to throw IU Butler Crossroads Classic again on here. Just the game itself, it's one of my favorite days of the year, Joey.
Yeah. Week before Christmas or so.
You get these kind of IU always has more fans in there than everyone else, but it's kind of 3 other schools rooting against IU almost. And Purdue Notre Dame was at least a high scoring game in the first game, but that was the undercard.
It kind of turned Purdue's season around after that.
It really did. And Notre Dame, unfortunately, for my sake, went the other way with Rex Pfluger tearing his ACL that day. But that was just a great game, and Butler leading the whole way, and we obviously handed out a Peyton to Robert Fennessy in that shot earlier. Purdue Ohio State, just Hollywood-like.
Oh yeah, it was a movie. It was wild.
Yeah, it was. It was a night that I didn't want it to end. Watching it. I'm just sitting there in my bed watching. I got back from the Pacer game late at night. I turned it on, and I'm like, and I think at that point they had just faked the field goal, maybe. And I just love
that was huge too.
I love Jeff Brom's, large satchel approaching that game. So many times I feel like you see coaches. Was satchel not the right word?
It's just funny. That's good.
Yeah.
Large satchel you're carrying around there.
Large, really large that night. And I think that's Jeff Brom in general. He coaches aggressive.
Yep.
I like it. I love it.
Want some more of it.
Yeah. And Colts Texans wild card, Joey. Maybe certainly the late game moments weren't really there, but
as a Colts fan, you can't want anything more than that.
Just an unbelievable start. T.Y. Hilton and the clown mask, and all that with Jonathan Joseph, and he gets him started early. And the Colts just didn't have a lot of wild finishes this year, but you get the second road playoff win in the Andrew Luck era and all of that. And, you beat the team that won the division, and
so they were the true division champs then.
Right, and you're one of 8 teams left in the playoffs. I think this category, in a way, has a lot of just different storylines you could go with here.
Definitely. We ready?
Yeah, this is all you, Joey. Best film to end it, and our last Peyton goes to.
Hopefully, I don't get the wrong card like a couple of years ago at the Oscars. Have any confusion? Best film, best game. Purdue upsetting Ohio State on that magical night in West Lafayette.
Magical is a great way to put it, Joey. That was an ass-kicking of the number 2 team in the nation. Ohio State was ranked number 2 at that point.
Mm-hmm.
This was a team that looked destined to be in the playoffs, as long as they could get through Michigan late in the year, which, boy, yeah, they obviously
no
did
question
that.
there.
But the hiccup against Purdue proved to be too much to get them. And it wasn't a hiccup. It was throwing up on your jersey.
That's the thing. Yeah, if they would have been driving with a chance to win the game at the end and not, or if Purdue would have kicked the last-second field goal to win by 3, good chance that they would have gotten the nod after winning the Big Ten championship. Right. But when you lose by almost 30.
Yeah, 49-20, right?
Yeah, when you lose by pretty much 30, that pretty much ends it.
And the upset and the whole Tyler Trent thing and just how impressive Purdue looked, to have you don't see it here recently, outside of Notre Dame, of course. Indiana and Purdue in the last 5 years in football, not a lot of great moments for either program. And for Purdue to put up that sort of effort, Rondell Moore obviously had a huge, huge game.
DJ Knox, David Blau.
Yeah, I mean, everybody was involved in that. I mentioned the fake kick earlier, which I think kind of set the tone. It was still a pretty competitive game at that point, but I think Purdue, Ohio State, to me, that's a very deserving best film.
Yep, absolutely, man. That's awesome.
So we got a little bit of everybody. You know, we had Ian Book go home with an award. We had Purdue take home best costume, best game. Frank Reich, best coach. Actor in a leading role goes to the Colts and Darius Leonard. Robert Fennessy, best play.
Much more diverse than last year.
Yeah, and I guess the Pacers would be calling us this year. A little bit disappointed that we didn't throw out a lot, but they are in an awkward time slot for the Peytons, you know, in terms of the calendar year. Who knows? The Pacers surprise us here down the stretch and win a series or two without Victor Oladipo. They are going to be very deserving of the Peytons this year. So, yeah.
I think just overall, though, yeah, I mean, congrats on a great year to a whole bunch of different schools, a whole bunch of different athletes, a whole bunch of different teams around here. I think it was a good year for the state and for the city. Fun year, without a doubt. Kind of a bounce-back year, Kevin.
Bounce-back year, much needed, especially in the professional ranks. Notre Dame obviously climbing up, and we'll see what, you know, Purdue does down the stretch here in basketball and what the Pacers do in the spring as well. So that wraps up our latest edition of Kevin's Corner, the Peytons edition. Check out the Oscars Sunday night. Shameless plug there, I guess, with no monetary value coming to Kevin's Corner for that. Don't know if Oscars need that.
Yeah. Or, you know, beforehand, listen to this to get you in the mood for the Oscars.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Good Sunday afternoon. You know, get you through maybe a quiet afternoon in sports. And we will be back next week. The NFL Combine is in town in Indianapolis.
Thank God.
And we will be previewing a lot of Combine coverage, recapping Combine coverage. In just a few weeks, we've got free agency. So everyone have a great rest of the week and weekend, and we'll be back next week on this edition of Kevin's Corner. This has been Kevin Bowen. Thank you for listening to another edition of Kevin's Corner. If you haven't already, subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher for the best Colts and Pacers coverage.